Okay, so picture this. You have a brand new state just finding its footing after its founder has passed away. And then, bam, a massive threat emerges. A charismatic leader steps up and claims he's a new prophet sent directly by God. This was the exact crisis facing the first Caliph, Abu Bakr, and it kicks off an incredible story of strategy, faith, and, well, straight-up deception. Right? I mean, that's the real question here. When your opponent says their authority comes from the heavens, just winning a battle isn't going to cut it. You have to completely tear down the idea that they're divine in the first place, and to do that, you need a very, very special kind of weapon. And this was the Caliphate's weapon, Khalid ibn al-Waleed, an absolutely brilliant, undefeated commander who was given the title the Sword of Allah by the Prophet Muhammad himself. So when Abu Bakr decided it was time to crush these rebellions, he knew exactly who to call. So who was this guy challenging the new Islamic State? His name was Tulayhah, a tribal chief, and his story is a classic example of how ambition can twist itself into something really, really dangerous. See, Tulayhah wasn't just some random chief. He positioned himself as a spiritual successor, the next in line. He'd actually been part of a group that accepted Islam, but after the Prophet Muhammad's death, he saw a power vacuum, an opportunity. He renounced his faith and declared prophethood for himself. So how'd he get so popular? Well, his playbook was pretty clever. He claimed he was getting divine revelations, sure, but he also made Islam easier by getting rid of prostration in prayer, a smart populist move. He even performed a so-called miracle, told his thirsty followers to ride his horse a certain distance where they'd find water. And they did. That convinced a lot of people. He then topped it all off with his grand promise of a kingdom from Iraq to Syria, which locked in the loyalty of some really powerful tribes. Faced with this growing threat, the Caliph didn't just plan a simple battle. Oh no, he put together this multi-layered campaign of psychological, diplomatic, and military pressure. Publicly, the plan was simple. March the army straight for Tulayhah. They announced this to scare the Bedouin tribes and create some chaos. But the actual plan? Way more subtle. Before the main army even showed up, they were going to target a key ally of the false prophet, not with swords, but with words. So you see, the crucial point here is that this was never just about winning a fight. It was about completely unraveling the enemy's coalition, making him feel alone and vulnerable. It was a strategy designed to win the war before the first spear was ever thrown. And this is where the plan gets absolutely brilliant. Instead of leading with an army, Abu Bakr first sent a single man on a desperate diplomatic mission. And the stakes were incredibly high. Tulayhah's army was growing every single day. I mean, look at this. 700 warriors from just one allied tribe had already joined him. The Caliphate was in a serious race against time. The fate of this entire campaign, maybe even the state itself, rested on this one guy, Adi ibn Hatim. Could he actually convince his own people, the Banu Tayyi, to ditch the false prophet and side with the Caliphate? So Adi rode like the wind, getting there way before Khalid's army. He went right to his people, the Banu Tayyi, and confronted them. At first, they refused to listen, but Adi kept at it, switching between warnings of the coming army and gentle reminders of their duty, until, as the sources put it, he softened their hearts. And the result? Oh, it was a strategic masterstroke. Not only did he stop his tribe from joining the enemy, he got them to switch sides. First 500 fighters, then another 1,000. Look at that number. That is a 1,500 fighter swing in the Caliphate's favor, all because one man chose loyalty to principle over loyalty to his tribe. So with Tulayhah's alliance starting to crumble, Khalid's army finally marched to meet him at a place called Buzakhah. The stage was set for the final showdown. But the self-proclaimed prophet started acting very, very weird. So as his men are out there fighting and dying for him, Tulayhah wasn't on the front lines leading the charge. No. He was sitting off to the side, all wrapped up in a cloak, putting on this big show. His excuse? He was waiting for divine instructions from the angel Gabriel. Now, one of his commanders, a guy named Uyayna, was getting pretty fed up. He'd fight bravely, then run back to Tulayhah and ask, "Has Gabriel come yet?" No, Tulayhah would say. So Uyayna would go fight again, come back again, anything? No. The third time, Tulayhah finally says yes. When Uyayna asks what the big revelation was, Tulayhah gives him this completely useless line, "You will have a major battle like his and an outcome that you will never forget." Uyayna saw right through it. He knew it meant they were going to get crushed. He screamed to his men, Obano Fazara, disperse, and they fled. And just like that, the prophet's whole act fell apart. Turns out, Tulayhah had a horse and a camel ready for a quick getaway the entire time. He threw off his cloak, jumped on the horse, put his wife on the camel, and bolted for Syria, leaving all his followers behind to face the music. With the false prophet gone and his army scattered, the rebellion was over. A delegation from the defeated tribes went to Medina to try and get a peace deal from the Caliph, but they weren't exactly met with a negotiation. The Caliph gave them two choices: all-out war or a humiliating deal. They answered with this question because they knew they had zero leverage. They were completely at his mercy. And that deal was absolutely humiliating. The terms were non-negotiable. Their weapons and horses, the symbols of their status as warriors, would be confiscated. They had to pay reparations for the Muslims they killed, but they'd get nothing for their own dead. And they wouldn't get back anything that was captured from them. It was total, unconditional surrender. And the final condition was symbolic but so powerful. They were reduced to the level of simple herdsmen, no longer considered warriors, until they could prove that their repentance was real. Their pride was completely and utterly broken. So when you step back and look at the whole thing, this conflict was really a clash between two totally different foundations. One was built on the selfish ambition of one guy, held together by lies, and it ended in cowardice. The other was built on a foundation of sincere belief, order, and sticking to your principles, even when it's hard. And that's really the big takeaway here. The Caliph understood that for this new state to actually survive, there could be no compromise on the fundamentals, no half-Islam, no cutting political deals that would sacrifice core beliefs. By facing this apostasy head-on, he made sure that stability and principle won the day. This story, from more than 1,000 years ago, leaves us with a question that feels incredibly relevant right now. When a leader's power is built on charisma and easy promises, how do you stand up for principles that are difficult but true? And what does history teach us about what happens to foundations built on lies versus those built on integrity?